In Watertown, Wisconsin, the school board prohibited the wind orchestra from performing a controversial instrumental classical piece at their spring concert. Who would have thought that in 2026, that classical music would still cause such a ruckus? Mother of a Revolution is a piece for wind orchestra by queer classical composer Omar Thomas. The piece is dedicated to and about trans woman activist Marsha Payette No Mind Johnson, who was one of the primary protesters at Stonewall in 1969.
Darling, I want my gay rights now. I think it's about time the gay brothers and sisters got their rights, and especially the women.
The piece premiered on the 50th anniversary of Stonewall in 2019, and since then it has been played by various high school wind bands across the country, as well as wind bands at various universities. When Watertown High School's band director proposed playing this piece, he followed all the protocols and allowed parents the opportunity to opt their children out if they did not feel like they wanted to have their children play this piece. There was no protest from any of the parents from having their students play the piece. And so they moved forward with practicing the piece so they could perform it at their spring concert. That was until the school board stepped in at the last minute and banned the wind orchestra from playing the piece.
This is a perfect example of what everyone sitting at this table ran on, which was ending indoctrination in the classrooms and ending radical curriculum.
In response to that ban from the school board, the students who are not in the band at the high school, they supported their classmates in doing a walkout to show their support for the band and how the school board was wrong in doing this decision.
I feel like the students here really see that and see that everything that the band has put in, came together, and we're coming together for the student body as a whole. I love it.
And I just want to reiterate how insane this is, because the school board decided that an instrumental piece was too controversial simply because it was dedicated to a trans woman. There's no lyrics in the piece at all. If you're just a casual listener and you're not reading the program, that would indicate that this is about a trans woman. It's just absolutely wild.
The funny thing is, everything I told you was really super specific. Had this piece just been played, nobody would have thought a thing about it.
And furthermore, I can tell you as someone who has an advanced degree in classical music history that it is very difficult to express certain specific messages when it comes to instrumental music, because without the attachment to lyrics, all you're going to be able to get is evoke images or emotions in the listener's mind. But if you're trying to evoke a certain sentence, that's only going to be able to be accomplished by lyrics being married with the music. All that said, we do have knowledge that this piece was dedicated to a trans woman, and this is my interpretation of what the various moments in the piece could be signifying to listeners. So it opens up with these military type snare drums, but there's also this metal scraping sound. So you got this tension between the metal drums and the scraping sound that, really feels like it's like revolution. Underneath that, you have these low tones that have these syncopated rhythms that could probably signify that this is attaching itself to a Black musical tradition. Then comes a brass melody, which is in open fourths and fifths intervals, which is very American sounding. But what's interesting here is that the end of the melodic phrase ends on a very dissonant note. And that really additionally just signifies that clash that's happening between what is American and expanding that idea of what American is and means. Then you get to the end of the piece and you have this disco style beat that comes in that is definitely an intentional nod to the disco music that would have been played in the Stonewall Inn. And over that, you have all these musical moments from earlier that they're all clashing against each other over that disco beat, probably representing the riots that happened at Stonewall on that fateful day. That's my interpretation of the different sections of the piece. You probably will come to a different conclusion of what different things mean. But back to Watertown High School Band, they thankfully had a church open up to them and invite community members who are also instrumental to play with them, and they were able to perform the piece.
Growing in God's call to serve the world. We are called into community in this place and belonging with one another. And that's why we stepped forward to host this event.
And the best news of all is that the composer flew out to Watertown and conducted the piece for them.
Please welcome Omar.
Which must have been an incredible, magical experience to have the composer of the piece you're playing conduct your band. In the end, that really worked out well for the band, despite what the school board did in banning them from playing the piece. Martha's Revolution is still relevant 50 plus years later, since there's been an increase of attacks on trans rights, and Omar and the high school students show us that now is as good time as any to stand up for the rights of the oppressed, and you can do that through music.
But in this case, the lesson was not just learning beautiful music, but how it's important for them to feel that their voices are being heard.